right, here we go. It's another edition of the Saturday Sports Rush. How we doing on this Saturday? Man, I am pumped up because coming up tomorrow night, it is Game 7, Oklahoma City versus your Indiana Pacers. You got to be excited about that. So tell me what you're doing on this Saturday. You know what I did? I got a chance to get out to the pool a little bit. 9 years of living in this apartment complex, a gorgeous set of pools at the clubhouse. And I have never been, well, today it was hot enough, it was sunny enough, and I was free enough that I decided to catch a few rays this afternoon. So I feel good. I got my vitamin D. We've got a big show for you. It's one worth sticking around for. And while we mention sticking around and our Saturday show, we want to mention subscribe. You've got that subscribe button right there on the page. Make sure you subscribe to the Sports Rush with Brett Rump YouTube channel. It's just the right thing to do. Helps us out. We're trying to build this program on YouTube. And for those of you who've been part of us when we were on radio, we certainly appreciate you. If you've already subscribed, how about sharing the channel and letting friends know that we talk local sports, hopefully each week. Now, things got all out of whack last week because I was traveling on Saturday. Sunday, we had TinCaps baseball. Things just didn't work out last week. And so had a tough time getting a live show on over the weekend. But generally, we're going to try to sneak in at least an hour every week to get you up to date with some of the latest breaking stories, give you our opinions on what's happening. But today's a great show because we've got a Game 7 with the Indiana Pacers to decide an NBA championship. We have got that coming up tomorrow night, and we're going to be all over it because the best in the business at covering the Indiana Pacers is going to join us, Scott Agness from the Fieldhouse Files. And I will just tell you this, and we'll mention it when he comes on with us. If you haven't subscribed to the Fieldhouse Files and you are a Pacers fan, you need to get subscribed. It is well worth the nickel or dime it costs you each month to get inside information about the Indiana Pacers, and so do that. But Scott Agness, who is in Oklahoma City, is going to be joining us coming up in a few. And of course, you're probably thinking, where is Adam Lundy? You know, Adam Lundy's usually on the show. Well, there he is. We'll bring him on in. Adam, next to me, you're looking kind of pale, man.
Hey, I know. I don't know how you've gotten so tan. I've been out. I've been doing things. I've been doing a lot of activities this summer. I can already list off, Cedar Point, Kings Island, Columbus Zoo, Fort Wayne Zoo. I've been going out. Still pretty pale.
I do tan fairly easily, but also I did spend some time at the pool. I spent about an hour at the pool. Had about an hour at the pool. It's not spray on. It's not makeup.
The makeup department didn't get you today?
No, the makeup department did not take care of me today. I took care of my own. No, this is
it's good to be here, man.
Yeah, so it's a great weekend. Got nice hot temperatures. Are you a hot weather guy or a cold weather guy? In other words, if we had an extreme, like let's say cold in the single digits or highs around 95 degrees, and I'll say around meaning anything 93 or above. What are you? The cold temperature guy? Can you put up with the cold better than the hot? What do you like?
I can put up with the cold better than the hot, but I'm also not opposed to a nice hot day. Sometimes it's good to get a nice healthy sweat out and feel that sort of alive. But at the other end of, I know you want hot, but at the other end of the spectrum, it's also nice to, being cold is nice because you don't have to worry so much about the sweating and the overheating and stuff, which I find a little bit more uncomfortable, but it's still not the worst. But yeah, I'll take the cold. Cold. You can always put more on. You run out of things to take off.
It is kind of crazy that I'm a guy that loves 92 with high humidity, pool day, beach day, and we've got a house in Florida, and here I am in Fort Wayne. That's how much I love Fort Wayne sports.
Fantastic. Lot to talk about, too.
All right, so let's get to it because that's what people are tuning in for, and we do appreciate you. And if you have not already subscribed or clicked the button, make sure you do so. We've slowly grown at this rate. We will hit our goal of 1,000 subscribers somewhere around 2028. But
It's
we're getting
subscribing.
there. I mean, it's forward progress, man. It's one of those things that just doesn't happen overnight. People have to find us. People have to remember to tune into us. We've got a different schedule than we had on radio, but we've got to talk about the Indiana Pacers. You know, it has been so much fun this series. I think one of the funnest things about it is watching all the so-called expert analysts that the networks have put together who couldn't be more wrong about this series from the beginning. 90% of them said that the Oklahoma City Thunder would win it in 4 or 5. Then when the Pacers won game 1 on the road, then they said, well, it might go 6. But I'm not wavering. Oklahoma City was the best in the NBA all year long. They just weren't quite ready. They overlooked the Pacers, whatever excuse they wanted to give. Halliburton hit a miraculous shot, but ultimately they wanted to make it a 5 or 6 game series. There's very few out there that stepped up and said, I'm going to pick the Pacers to win the series. There weren't very many that thought this was going to be competitive and get to a 7th game. Most of them had 4 or 5. Occasionally you'd get a 6, especially after the Pacers won game 1. But this has been a terrific series. For those that didn't tune in, because it's not the biggest superstars in the game. It's a couple of teams that don't get as much national TV exposure, so America's not quite as familiar with these lineups. They have missed some terrific competitive basketball. I feel sorry for them. The ratings haven't been great through the series so far. I think Game 7 will do well because it is Game 7, regardless of the participants. Um, but it's been a great series, and the Pacers once again surprise a lot of people with a dominating win. It's not surprising them that they won because they were at home, but it's the fact that they absolutely crushed OKC, up by 20 at the half, up by 30 at the end of the third quarter, one-sided all the way. It was a laugher. What do you make of that, Adam? How did that happen? Is this the Pacers playing their best basketball of the series, or is this OKC being okay? See you in Game 7. See what I
Little
did?
combination. I do like that. Little
Yeah.
combination of both, but I also think it's a little bit of that finals playoff experience starting to rear its head again. I think OKC got a little bit cocky after game 5 and thought they could, here's the thing. OKC either got cocky and said, "Hey, let's take this to game 7 and win at home. We can beat them any game we want to." Or OKC got cocky and let their guard down going into Indiana. And I think it was a little bit more of that one because not only did they get off to a fast start, OKC did, and it actually took a quick response from Indiana in the first quarter, which I thought was impressive. And then after that, I think OKC kind of ended up on its back heels. And what I'm thinking is now, do they feel like they're on their back heels and have to win this in front of their fans? Now it's pressure. Now, before they might have been cocky and said, "Hey, if this does go to 7, we can win in front of our fans. We can win the finals in front of our fans." Now we have to live up to the expectations of our fans in game 7. So a little bit of a mental adjustment going to be needed from them. But I'll tell you what, Indiana's going to be going in there with a lot of confidence, not going to be worried anything about that Thunder crowd, I don't think. I mean, if you can handle Madison Square Garden, you can handle Oklahoma City. They've got a good crowd out there, but I think it might have been a little bit more vitriolic over on the East Coast.
Well, here's my thought. Oklahoma City showed up with no urgency, no desperation. Pacers had all the desperation, and I've talked before that the more desperate team often has the greater advantage, that it's tough to beat a team who's fighting for their lives unless you can match that intensity and that energy that they bring. Oklahoma City didn't bring anything to game 6. They didn't bring any defense. They didn't bring energy. They didn't bring an attack mindset. The Pacers took it to the Thunder throughout that game. And as a result, the Thunder seemed to, I don't want to say give up, but they seemed to accept their fate, that it was going to be about game 7 on their home floor, and they just didn't have fight. I mean, that's one thing we've seen with the Pacers, regardless of home or away, all the way through the game, no matter what the score is, the Pacers are always competing, always fighting. To me, that showed something that OKC had no fight. I mean, that was a different team. You know, the aggressiveness they had defensively and those games that they won where they collapsed the paint, they've got hands all over basketballs. That was the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers looked like Oklahoma City. They collapsed in the paint, they got hands on balls, they blocked shots, they protected the rim. They did everything that OKC has done when they're effectively defending. And OKC did not do it in game 6. Pacers ran away with it, and so here we are with game 7. Got to talk about Tyrese because the big question mark going into game 6 was going to be his health. Here's one of my concerns. We're going to talk to Scott Agness about this when he joins us a little closer to the bottom of the hour. But those types of injuries, it's a strain, probably just needs rest, a little bit of therapy, massage, maybe something to relieve the pain. But it's supposedly a 6 to 10 day type of recovery with normal rest. He comes back 3 days later. He's able to play. And he played pretty well and he pushed it pretty hard because to me, if you didn't know about the injury, I don't think you'd have looked at him and said, oh, Tyrese must be hurt. That doesn't look like Tyrese tonight. And my concern is it may have felt fine when he played because he had that adrenaline. He had the crowd giving him that extra juice. He had therapy for 3 straight days. He was at home so he could get 24-hour therapy. There was no travel time. There's no having to get dinner because you're not having a cook or somebody make you dinner. All of a sudden now you go on the road and it's totally different. You have to sit in a plane for a couple of hours. That's probably not getting therapy. You've got to get on a bus and get to the hotel. That's probably not getting therapy. You have to go to meals, however they are being served, whether it's in a conference room, whatever the situation is. I'm not exactly sure how NBA teams get their meals.
I think you could get room service if you really wanted to.
Okay, but
but the rest of it, yeah, all valid.
But it's still much more complicated to get round-the-clock therapy.
True.
Because the people providing the therapy have to go get dinner too. So it's a little different with the schedule. But once you've pushed it and you pushed it ahead of time, does it come back 100%? In other words, it looked like things went well on Thursday night. But now what? Is he going to be 100%? That's what I want to find out because Scott Agness, I think, went to practice today and can give us an update on this.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see. I mean, I guarantee you he's going to play regardless of how his leg's feeling. I think it's just, like you said, a matter of how much healing you can get on the road and in these couple of days in between games. He kind of actually seemed to loosen up a little bit throughout the game. So I don't know if maybe just kind of getting it stretched out and going is good for it, but a little bit tight to start game 6. But another good thing about game 6 is that it was such a confident blowout that he only had to play 23 minutes. So that's also huge too.
Yeah, and Oklahoma City didn't play their starters in the fourth. Were you surprised that they kind of threw in the towel at the beginning of the fourth quarter, said we're on to game 7, it's not our night?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess they kind of realized the magnitude of the game they're heading towards. Didn't want to risk it. So
30 was too much.
Yeah, 30. I thought, yeah, 30 too much.
90 to 60 at that point. Probably decided we're not coming back from 30. We'll keep everybody healthy and give them some extra rest.
Yeah.
All right. So got to talk about a couple of other things from this game because I took some notes. You mentioned it. Halliburton, 23 minutes, but did score 14 points. He was aggressive at both ends of the floor. I'll tell you what, Tyrese Halliburton, and he used to be the real weak link defensively. He's playing much better defense. Now, you can't put him one on one against the other team's best player, but, for a third or fourth best player on the other team, I mean, he made that steal. And right now, that might be the play of the series was the steal, retrieving it, and then a no-look pass to a driving Siakam for a poster slam dunk over
That was
Jay
nasty.
Williams. Yeah.
That was a baptism by fire. But like you said, Tyrese has been using some of that length that he's been blessed with to kind of get a little bit more in there, get a couple more steals, and just yeah, you like to see it on the defensive end too, because that's what they say, defense with the championships.
Is there anybody more fun to watch play than TJ McConnell?
As far as just pure spark plug energy,
Just the
it's
stuff he's
fantastic.
able to do that there is no physics or logic behind what he is able to do. To shoot layups against guys that are 6'10", 6'11", to steal inbound passes over and over when he's out there. He this is what he's known for, and just the way he weaves through traffic and gets to his spot and pops up that little fade away from 10 feet. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody. I mean, there's more talented people and there's people who accomplish more athletic feats than TJ McConnell. But as far as an average, slow, non jumping white guy sitting on his couch watching the NBA, there is nobody I can relate to more than TJ McConnell.
I saw a great post on social media. It's like we're so used to guys, not diving for balls and having hustle and going after rebounds like a dog, that all this stuff, it makes TJ look like an anomaly when in reality he's really just being a hustle player, and we're just not used to that
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, we're not seeing somebody that actually is given 110%, 110% of the time. All right, Obi Toppin, he's had some ups and downs in this series, but an up for game 6, 20 points, 4 for 7 from 3, and 6 rebounds, solid from Toppin.
Yeah, that's really when he can contribute too. I mean, he's not always going to be involved in offensive play, but when he can get the ball on the outside and hit his 3-point shot, that's always going to be huge. He's always liable for a crowd riling, game exciting dunk too. So good stuff from Obi. I like the rebounds too. So good stuff from a forward off the bench.
I got a question while we're going through this live. We're still kind of learning on the fly. Can you see the comments that are coming in, or is that just for me
Yeah,
on the dashboard?
I can certainly see the comments. I
Okay.
see. I believe that's Ryan weighing in there.
Yeah, I saw a few come in for Ryan. I'm getting texts. See, the people that know me and know my number, they don't bother with the comments. They just are sending me texts. But I'm wondering if you're seeing this. But Ryan, want to keep up with anything, and it's my screen is not scrolling up and down. So, oh, there it is. Now it is. Um, Ryan's excited because he's free. He's watching us live. Ryan is one of our biggest fans up in LaGrange. He's in an air-conditioned bedroom watching on the iPad. That's the place to be today, and it's probably the
Yeah.
place to be for the next couple of days. It's supposed to only get warmer. Ryan also told us that he likes the warm weather. He tans easily.
Nice.
No, he likes the cold weather better
So he
because he
tans
sweats so
easy.
much. Okay,
Oh, okay, I
just read
gotcha.
that. He likes the cold better. But we were talking about the heat and the extreme heat. And of course, during the winter, you'll have the cold spells where it gets into single digits. What do you tolerate more, the hot or the cold? You can let us know by leaving a comment. I think comments are open. I know on YouTube, I think you have to be a subscriber, but you should be subscribing to the channel anyway because it's free. It's not like, so many things we subscribe to, you're making some kind of commitment or it's a free trial period and then you get hit with a bill that you didn't expect. That's not happening here. When you subscribe, all you're doing is basically sending a message to YouTube. Hey, This show is worth my time and I enjoy watching the content. That's it. And it really does help us. And we really do need help. Been that way for a long time, but right now really do need your help to be a subscriber to the channel. And then make sure you like and share it with other people that follow Indiana sports. All right, we've got to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We talked about the good, and so let's talk about the bad and the ugly. Miles
Let's
Turner,
do it.
you
Uh
knew this was coming.
oh.
Or should I say Miles Angel Reese Turner?
Me bounds.
You can't even get me bounce. And we got to be careful about saying that or we'll get sued.
Oh
Probably.
yeah, we'll get copyright claimed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll stay away from that. But
Yeah.
Turner was 1 for 9. He's 37% field goal in this series. 37%. He is 20% 3-point shooting in this series, 5 of 25. And he has 18 total rebounds over the last 5 games. That's 3.6 rebounds a game. I'll give you 2 players that have that many rebounds or more in the last 5 games. TJ McConnell, who has the exact same amount, and Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, I mean, I knew TJ would somehow sneak on there because of his just #dog mentality, but and Tyrese has the length, but I mean, you are a center, you're pushing 7 feet. You got to grab some boards, my man.
And so, yeah, not good. And so I guess the question, and I've asked it for about 3 games now, is Game 7 the game where Miles Turner shows his Pacers pride, understands how big of a game this is for him, his career. I mean, he's been loyal to the Pacers. The Pacers have been loyal to him. It's time that Miles Turner does his part and plays a little darn better than he played in Game 6. The team didn't need him, but I have a feeling before this series is over and there's only 1 game left in the series, the Pacers do need him. And you don't want to live with the reputation that you played 10 years, went through the ups and downs of a 10-year career, finally got your chance, and you didn't deliver. And right now, he had a couple of okay games, but he's not playing well right now. And the Pacers need one of those breakout where he hits 3 or 4 3-pointers and hits some big dagger type shots. And right now he's getting them and he's not hitting them.
Yeah. Excuse me. Would be great to have a Miles Turner statement game alongside hopefully a nice one from Tyrese Halliburton in a Game 7. Bring home a championship to Indianapolis, especially like you said with Turner, who has been with Indy for so long. You'd love to see it. So I'm going to say I need at least 20 and 10. I need a 20-10 game at minimum.
Whoa.
Miles Turner.
All right, let's talk about the Pacers defense and the wrinkle that they added to Game 6 that we had not seen. They had, throughout the playoffs, played full court pressure on the other team's point guard or whoever was bringing it up the floor. They dropped off the full court pressure in Game 6, but then they added a double team where if SGA or Jalen Williams showed the number on the back of their jersey, the defender came. And they came with hands low. I said it's exactly what OKC was doing to the Pacers. The attack in the paint with the second defender coming from the blind side. I thought it was a great strategy. It seemed to frustrate those guys. They were not nearly as good in Game 6 as they had been. So I'm interested to see how Oklahoma City responds to that. Do they change something offensively? And number 2, do the Pacers stick with that type of defense? Because I thought it was effective. The guy that we should ask those questions to is now joining us because We listen as a nation when we get to a situation like this and our team is on the biggest stage. All of a sudden, the national people start talking about our team, and you find out just how ignorant they are and how little they have watched our team. But the guy who's been right there in the trenches with this Indiana Pacers squad for years now and has the premier website that you should be subscribed to. If you haven't, you should be. If you follow the Pacers at all, you will follow them more effectively and efficiently. And the guy right now is sitting down in Oklahoma City willing to join us. And it is Scott Agness. And let me just see, there he is. Scott, how are you, man? How's OKC?
Attending Pacers and Oklahoma City Thunder practices. We were able to talk to them for the final time. And one of the odd things about this, not only is the excitement of a game seven, Brett, but the other thing here is usually you don't know exactly when your season ends. And here we know, no matter what, the Pacers, the Thunder, their season's done after this. So today was their last practice. Tomorrow's their final shoot around, and then the big one coming up tomorrow night.
Let's go back to game six. OKC just seemed to be satisfied to come to Indy to go through the motions. I did not see the fight, the energy, the desperation out of Oklahoma City in game six. You were there. What did you see?
I saw a Pacers team that made an adjustment, and for whatever reason, the Thunder failed to adapt to it. It was something they have seen before in terms of the Pacers' defensive pressure. This is one of the things I'm writing about here today at Fieldhouse Files. Is the Pacers have been pressuring full court, and generally against most teams, that's one of their superpowers. That's one of their advantages because they'll wear you out and then play the next guy. They'll wear that guy out, they'll play the next guy. Doesn't exactly work with the Thunder because they have that depth that can match one-to-one there. The difference, though, is by pulling guys back instead of 94 feet, they're going to about a half court or maybe a little bit further, and it's slowing down how much the Thunder can get downhill. It's preventing them from getting into the paint. They're clogging up the middle and forcing outside shots, something that the Thunder have not done well at all this season. So the Pacers found success, and we didn't see that urgency or that response from the Thunder. That was what was so surprising. I agree.
And now moving into game seven. You said it's the last game and you expect OKC to make adjustments. What adjustments do you expect to see, and what will the Pacers do in response to those adjustments? Is it going to look like game six? Because that didn't work too well for Oklahoma City.
Yeah, if you're the Pacers, why wouldn't you go back to that and use that up until its effectiveness, right? It's the Thunder were all saying the right things. Hey, we've seen this before. We did not handle it well. We watched film. We know what we need to do. Now it's about executing. And one of the things I've enjoyed most about this series, Brett, is just the chess matches. And what I think I've said all along, I'm sure I've said to you here, is the Pacers' biggest advantage in this series, where they're so equal at so many different places, is coaching. 25 more years of experience from Rick Carlisle. He has an NBA championship. He has decade-long coaching. Where is Mark Daigneault? One of the up-and-comers, no doubt. Just 40 years old, though. And so I think this is an area where nothing gets to Rick. No pressure, no big game experience by any means. He's been through it. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he has a couple other things maybe up his sleeve as well for the Pacers to get to here. Just in how they defend is the biggest thing and the biggest area to watch, right? Is for OKC to win, they got to have a massive performance from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's got to show why he's MVP and why he is the best player on the floor, as we all agree coming into the series. He can easily score 30 without a doubt. And I think the effectiveness of that defensive pressure. And then it was the other things. The Pacers won all the 50-50 balls. They did knock down some shots, although the surprising thing is neither one of these teams has really shot it well from three-point range all series long. So if one team can do that while managing turnovers, that team will probably be raising the trophy tomorrow night.
Yeah, the Pacers have struggled. And does OKC do anything different defensively, or do they just play with more energy at home? Because the two games where the Pacers have been horrible in turning the ball over have happened down in OKC.
I think the number one thing is the talent level that they have defensively. They have at least two guys that are on the all-defensive team, and it starts with Lou Dort, who, forget even Tyrese's injury. He's minimized Tyrese's output here, keeping him under 20 points, keeping him to 6, 7 assists instead of the 11, 12 that has worked well. And so then it goes to Jalen Williams, who can score, we've obviously seen, not the last game, but the previous three, he was on the rise and the player of the game. But what he's able to do defensively with his size and everything has been impactful in all this. But outside of that, then it's the way in which they play, their scrappiness, their length, and how they swarm the ball. How they actually, I think, what was it? All these games are running together at this point. But the last time we were here, I want to say, so game 5, they really sped up the Pacers, which is hard to do for a team that wants to play fast, wants to play faster than anyone. But the Pacers were a notch too fast. They piled up. I think it was the second game where they had like 23 turnovers. That's the recipe for disaster when no one's playing well. It was Siakam, I believe, that finished with 8 turnovers, which was stunning for how poised, steady, and control he is. But it was also a reflection of how much they were putting the ball in his hand and needed him to lead as Tyrese was hurting a little bit. And by the way, I want to go back to my original point with the defensive end. Part of the other thing that's so impactful about where they pick up, that pickup point, is that it doesn't add too much stress on Andrew Nembhard. And they need offensive production from him, just like they did last game. He knocked down 3 threes. He's the guy that could be an X factor for the Pacers in game 7, given how he plays in big games, what he does defensively, and how he welcomes the big shot. If they're down late, it could be Halliburton likely, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Siakam or Andrew Nembhard, Brett.
When you talk about Rick Carlisle, some of the subtle adjustments that he has made, and when you talk about the matchup of the head coaches and the experience that Carlisle has, one of them that I think's gone under the radar is he almost has switched point guards. Tyrese has moved off the ball, and Nembhard has kind of taken over as maybe the primary point guard. It's a subtle change, but it's also been pretty effective.
Yeah, and it's one of those things right now, it's probably out of need. As you want to lessen the stress, lessen the workload on Tyrese Halliburton. It was huge that he only needed to play 23 minutes in game 6. And we talked, and I'm writing about what it took to get him ready. Well, he's doing even more down here in Oklahoma City, to get even more prepared for game 7. We're talking hyperbaric chambers and STEM and red light therapy. Anything that you could do, he's trying it, because he's only got to get through one more game. Then it's his off season, and basketball to him does not matter until October with all of that. And so, yeah, Rick Carlisle's made the right calls, I think, in that. Again, I think he's their biggest asset in winning this series ultimately. And TJ McConnell's capable of playing on the ball. I mean, to your point, many times TJ will be out there and he'll run the point. Tyrese will play the off man. And some of that, to be fair, they talked about doing coming into the season, and that's to try to maximize Tyrese's minutes, allow for him to be a better version of himself while he's out there. But we obviously know why they're going to it even more here over the last few games.
Yeah, I think game 1, it was Tyrese who had the high number of was it game 1 or game 2? One of those early games, Tyrese had trouble handling the ball, and it took some of the pressure off him in that regard.
Game 1, they all had high turnovers, right?
Yeah.
25, I think, total, but it only cost them 9 points. That was the difference, and that's why they were able to win.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Want to talk a little bit about Miles Turner. And I've said for 4 games, okay, the breakout game's coming where he's going to hit some of these 3-point daggers, right? Because Miles is a guy that in flow, when the team gets a little run going, it always seems like the ball finds Miles and he hits maybe the dagger 3 or adds to a run. He's not hitting them right now. He just doesn't. He seems to be a little out of sorts, almost like he's pressing and it's not working. What do you see from Turner?
I like what he's doing defensively. I want to note that, but offensively, you're right. It's not enough. You need to get his usual 12, 14 points per game, especially I've thought late in these couple of games that they have lost, how many times they've run a pick and pop. Miles is right there in his sweet spot at the top of the arc. Nobody in the league shoots better and more effectively from top of the arc than Miles. And it just, for whatever reason, has not been here this season or this series. He's, I think, 5 of 25.
Shot's been there. The shot has been open.
It has, and he's 5 of 25, I believe, 20%. Hasn't shot it confidently, and I think he was pressing a little bit in a couple games ago, just trying to see one to go down. And maybe you run that pick and pop. That's one thing I always like to see to start games for the Pacers, because if Miles shoots well and knocks it down, the offense is humming, and he's a better version of himself defensively. I should also note that there was a sickness that went around the team, and it certainly hit Miles there in the middle of games. I would guess he's mostly over it. Not an excuse, but it certainly helps inform why he wasn't completely at full strength You could see him gassed up, I think, in a negative way, like game 4, game 3, whatever it was, after that tempo and everything. So that certainly played a part. But they're going to need him to knock down at least a couple of those threes as well. I don't think the centers have been nearly as impactful as we all anticipated overall in this series, whether it's Hartenstein or Chet Holmgren as well.
All right, I got past this, so I'm jumping back. This is a terrible interview because I missed my opportunity on the follow up earlier. And Adam, you're shaking your head because you probably heard it because we talked about it earlier.
We'll get him next time.
Yeah. I'm still a rookie at this. Someday I'll figure this out. Scott, you mentioned Tyrese Halliburton and the treatment that he's getting. I said earlier before you joined us that it's very easy to get treatment when you're at home and you can have people taking care of you 24/7. But when you've got to get on a plane, you got to get on a bus, you got a bus to an arena, you've got, all these media obligations. How is he? Because the other concern I had was it's easy to get ready for one game when you put 3 days worth of 100% of your effort into preparing for that game. But a lot of times, if you push an injury like this, it comes back worse than it was, and maybe it's even harder for recovery. Where do you know him to be being with the team and being at practice today?
Yeah, I would say, surprisingly, it's actually better when they're on the road. The only difference, I don't know if they have a portable hyperbaric chamber. And that's something he's been sleeping in and taking naps in, and something a lot of these elite athletes believe in. I don't know this, but I would assume they either rented or went out and bought. It's worth $10,000 or whatever it costs, right?
It's like something out of a sci-fi movie, isn't
it? But that's the one thing I know. Previous players rehabbing Achilles injuries, they go up to Carmel, Indiana, and go in a hyperbaric chamber, for example. But everything else, it's easier. You know why? The head athletic trainer, the physical therapist, they're in the same hotel. Nobody has to drive to each other's houses. They have all the equipment with them. All the medical staff are within a couple of floors of the same building, which is across the street from the arena. So everything is just right here and comfortable in Oklahoma City. Yes, you have a taxing in terms of one more flight, but to be right here with your medical staff and all your devices, that's fantastic. Maybe the other thing is if you wanted another MRI, it's not your hospital where maybe you can be a little bit more private. But I doubt he needs another one of those tests. But team doctors travel with the Pacers during these postseason runs, absolutely. And, of course, they want to be part of it if they win the Game 7. But in terms of how does he look, again, they had practice earlier today. All we get to see is shooting, talking, walking up and down. So it's very hard to describe from there, other than, he wasn't walking completely normal. He said he was a little bit sore, a little stiff in that right calf area after the last game. I think that's pretty normal, pretty typical coming off an injury like that. But he said, look, I'm ramping it up. I'm doing even more and doing as much as I can. I will be out there. So I would expect probably the same version of him. The reality is, though, he only played 23 minutes because that's all that was needed. What happens when he goes a little bit further, when he goes 28, 30, can't even go 35 minutes? There is no minutes restriction on him. It's much more a reflection of how does he feel, how does the medical staff and the training staff as a whole see him. And if you can visibly see he's struggling, Tyrese has made a point to Rick, say, hey, I want to be out there, put me out there. But if I'm not doing well, if I'm holding the team back, take me out. We're not holding back this team whatsoever. And I thought that was very mature and leadership quality from Tyrese as well.
I know they probably don't give you a lot of details on the calf, but I find it interesting that where we see him rubbing, when he's rubbing it out, is closer to what I know to be the Achilles than the calf. Achilles sounds like a much scarier injury. Do they give you any details on variations of calf strains or where they're at as far as the calf muscle?
No, nothing like that. We don't even know the grade of it. And then for those that don't know, there's 3 grades. If it's more than grade 1, he wouldn't be out there. I can guarantee you that, because grade 2, you're out for like a month. Grade 3, it's torn so much that you need some kind of surgery or operation. So you could kind of assume it's at most a grade 1, or else there's no chance physically he could be there. No medicine, I think, could push you towards that. But he is wearing that gray sleeve. I'm sure people have seen. I would assume that's for compression, maybe like something me or you might wear on a flight to help with blood flow and those sorts of things. Obviously, he's getting world-class treatment. That's the other thing I like to stress is if it's me or you, Brett, we're probably not back in 3 days. We don't have endless resources, the hyperbaric chambers, red light therapy, all of that kind of stuff. This is the elite of the elite with the elite quality of everything. And so that's what's making it possible. Yes, the biggest concern in all of it absolutely is Achilles. I think here's where I just lean on, just like Tyrese has the medical. And I got to believe if there was any kind of tears that would lead towards the Achilles or better indicators, I don't know what those are, but I'm sure there are. They would put the kibosh on it and say, no, you're not out there. Medical staff's going to lead towards the player's health here. And so that's what I'm going off of. It's obviously a risk for further calf strain or Achilles, but I got to believe it's much more minimal based on what I was just saying, and the doctors couldn't let him be out there.
Adam, you got anything? I don't want to ignore Adam. Normally he's behind the scenes. I just got him sitting here right in the middle and asking nothing and not even participating. Normally I do that to him and nobody knows I'm ignoring him. But this time it's like, why is Adam even on the screen right now? He's not got anything going on. What do you got for Scott, Adam?
Yeah, I guess my question would be if, Tyrese would happen to be limited or isn't, performing up to his standard. Is it going to need to be another scoring by committee type of night? Is Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner going to need to step up? What's it going to need to look like? Should Tyrese Halliburton not look like Tyrese Halliburton in Game 7?
Yeah, I think in this series, it's the team that's had the best production from its bench has won the game. I think it was in Game 6, throwing out that fourth quarter. That was Pacers had a 30-point lead. OKC didn't even play their starters. Pretty sure the Thunder had like 6 bench points to that point. They only had 60 points total. And so for the Pacers, it's obviously winning those bench minutes. But on top of that, it starts with Andrew Nembhard. So let's assume Halliburton's limited or can't give you what he wants. And that's another reason why that defensive play is so effective, to reduce his workload on that end of the floor as much as you can. He needs to give you probably 15 points and a couple big threes. Siakam will have to have a big night. He's the guy they've leaned to over the last 15 months since he was acquired here, just given his playoff experience. He's won championships in the G League with the Toronto Raptors, and it all started this season with a players-only minicamp down at his home in Orlando. And so they're looking to him. They're looking to Rick Carlisle for that championship experience. And then it kind of feels like a guy like Aaron Nesmith quietly could go off. And you looked at the box score, Adam, and all of a sudden he's got 4 or 5 threes, and they're all coming out of the corner, which is a sweet spot for the Pacers and something the Thunder have given up more than any other team this season. It's something we certainly saw in Game 1 and has carried over here as well.
Scott, I got to ask you about officiating because it seems inconsistent to me. It seems moderate at best if we were to judge it, kind of mid-range. These are supposed to be the best of the best. I mean, I thought they were calling fouls that weren't fouls. And I try to watch this without being biased, but it looked like the Pacers were getting the short end of the stick on a few calls the other night. What have you thought about the officiating? And I don't want you to say anything if you're subject to NBA fines as an NBA media member, but
no.
What about the officiating so far?
I thought it was just that one game. I think it was Game 4, if I remember right. That was just troublesome. It was that Scott Foster crew, and that was alarming because you're right. There wasn't the consistency, and they'd call ticky-tack here and then let a physical play on. And it went both ways. That was the concerning part. It's like going into the game, you just want to know, starting with the first quarter with the new set of officials, what are they going to emphasize? What are they going to be called? And then let's have it the rest of the way. So you can adapt, you can plan for it. Aaron Nesmith's been a guy that's fouled out in a couple games. He nearly fouled out of a third straight game. Obviously, he has a big defensive assignment, as does Andrew Nembhard. And yes, I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, I would be surprised if we don't see Scott Foster coming up in Game 7. And obviously, your audience probably remembers what Rick Carlisle went out of his way to back Foster. Mostly the negativity that overwhelms, and I think that's just nice. And it feels like Rick has kind of taken on that fatherly role in many ways with his team, with the league. Anytime another coach gets fired, he speaks up for the individual. He's also 19 years the president of the Coaches Association. So it's not unusual for him to speak out for an individual. I even go back to before Game 1, Brent, where he did for Doris Burke. He started his press conference of the NBA Finals mentioning, hey, I don't like all the negativity and the rumors out there about Doris Burke and what she's done for the game, et cetera, et cetera. But I would fully anticipate him, maybe a James Capers, What you just hope is they set this tone early in the game, and then it's predictable the rest of the way and fairly even. Because what we don't want is there was that game. I want to say it was a game one. No, it was game four. I think there was like 71 combined free throws. I don't know, 53 combined fouls. That's just not a good quality basketball game. Because on top of that, then you threw in there a couple challenges, a couple of reviews, and before you knew it, Brett, it was almost a 3-hour basketball game. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, my guess, if I had to pick, you're in the same direction I am. I had Davis, Capers, and Foster as the guys coming back for the three officials. And Capers or Davis could go a couple of different ways, but and it's funny because you would expect the guys who have ranked the very highest would earn that spot. And I mean, I think we can admit Foster completely blew the SGA step back, and I'm not blaming the loss on it, but there was a push off. There was about 4 steps before he planted to take that baseline jumper in what was that, game 4. Um, he missed that one.
Here's the thing I'll tell you. According to NBA data, he's like top 3. So based off their numbers, he's one of the highest ranked officials. And so are all of them that we have seen in the NBA Finals. That's how they qualify. They don't just pick them. Now, they do try to mix in a couple new ones, including Tyler Ford, who's from Indiana, went to Ball State, and I think he got one game. Maybe it was game 3.
He worked game 3 because he got a home game an hour from his hometown, which I thought, oh, wink, wink.
Yeah, but it also goes the other way, to be fair. Zach Zarbo, I believe, is the number 1 official. He's from New York, and I remember him doing Pacers-Knicks in that series. So at this point, I don't read too much into it. Too many people would have to be in on something crazy like that. But I think it is very real that we talk about game 7 and the pressure and the emotions and the loudness of the building. That gets to all of us, myself included. Like, I'll probably in that first quarter, I won't be able to hear my thoughts. That's certainly what happened in game 1. It was that loud, and they give these fans these noisemakers and all these kind of things. So it's natural and human for the officials also to be impacted by the stakes and the millions of viewers on the line.
Louder building, Gainbridge or Paycor?
It feels like Paycor. I've had a national media member say, hey, they're piping in noise. They also give out paper that people turn into noisemakers because you're not officially allowed to have noisemakers. So that absolutely helps with the noise. It also could be the location and how the noise is filtered in. But I will say Gainbridge was as loud as it's ever been here during this series. It just feels, at least in our spot, that here in OKC, it's almost chilling and jarring to your head how noisy it is. And even after the first game, guys were like, there was a 2 or 3 minute stretch we couldn't hear each other. Now, the positive of all that, Pacers don't call plays. They're not signaling anything at all. It's all read and react. So as long as you can block it out, however difficult that may be, that does not impact them as much as, say, a football team when you got to put in a play call, have a cadence at the line of scrimmage, and all those sorts of things.
I know it's the first experience of the NBA Finals for you, but just in the experience that you've had covering the playoffs, loudest 2 buildings in the NBA, would you say? Is that fair or not fair?
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. I would throw Toronto up there. That's one of what had previously been one of the really good ones. Chicago has the most fans, but they haven't been relevant since Derrick Rose, so you can't really throw that building in there. But yeah, I would say these 2 are right there. And the cool thing here, no matter what, Brett, is the team that wins on Sunday is going to win their first franchise NBA championship. And I always think that's cool, right? We don't need to see the Lakers or the Celtics win their 19th and whatever. I think it's cool. Regardless, you can be happy for whomever out there, given the stakes and given how these 2 teams were built and the various stories. Like, to some extent, it feels like a redemption for Rick Carlisle, who had been out of the playoffs for 10 years, came back to Indiana for a 3rd time, and has built this team into a contender. On the other side, Mark Dagnall had to earn it at the G League, much like the G League players, and was promoted. Then they went through some dire years. They have all these draft picks, and yet they too are ahead of where anybody had predicted them to be and have brighter days ahead, just like both teams.
I don't expect you to make a pick on the podcast here, but what do you expect out of game 7? What type of game are we going to see? Is it going to be a game where teams play tight? Do the Pacers have an advantage because they've gotten the pressure game out of the way? They've played it. They know what to expect in a back against the wall type of situation. What kind of game are we going to see tomorrow night in your mind?
So, yeah, this is a situation that none of the players have been in a game seven of the NBA Finals. So this is all new that nobody can really lean on here. I think again we'll see a couple wrinkles out of Rick Carlisle and his staff that will be advantageous. I think the start of the game there should be some tightness, right? It may be like the start of the second half where the last game where the teams combined to miss their first 14 shots. Took 4 minutes and Tyrese made a layup. Pacers went on a brief run. You had that review, I think it was. It's 5:30 left in the third quarter. Halliburton came out. Pacers blew it up to 30 points. That was the rest of the game. I would
Well,
expect
and if you
physical.
remember, Scott, not to interrupt, but if you remember, the Pacers started the game that way.
They
I
did,
mean,
yeah. They missed their
and the only
first whatever
difference
it
was
was, 10
Oklahoma
shots.
City hit a few shots, but in the second half, nobody hit. But the Pacers started both halves ice cold.
Mhm. I think why I bring that up is for whatever reason, it's not a good thing, but that's been this Pacers storyline. They always start slow. We always talk about them starting slow. And that's why we've also had to talk about them making comebacks in the playoffs and regular season of 20 points, of 19 points, of 18 points. For whatever reason, they get off the pine slowly there and usually have to use an early timeout. But I would expect physical. I would expect free throws. They're gonna feel the pressure of this one, but at the same time, for the OKC side of things, they got to have some adjustments for that defense. SGA has to be magnificent. He needs to show why he's MVP of the league and the series. And on the other side, I think the Pacers will do it by committee, just like always. There'll be a couple bench players that pop off and play very well. And then you need solid contributions from the starters, led by Siakam. And they got to win that three-point battle. We know turnovers a big deal. That's any game, but they got to win that 3-point battle because that's one of the reasons they've had a strong advantage in several of the games. But once again, Brett, for the seventh straight game, no surprise, Pacers are the underdogs and by quite a bit.
Yeah, although the public is starting to buy in a little bit. It started, I think, at 9.5, and it was bought down to 7.5. So there was some early money that took those 9.5 points for the Pacers. Scott,
How
I
much
want to
is
give
that?
you a chance.
How much is that? People just want value, I wonder, too, right?
Yeah, yeah, they may not pick the Pacers to win, but they figure that's the value of a game that
Mhm.
might be lower scoring because it is a game seven. But
The key number for the Pacers is 111 points, by the way. The last
yeah,
game, you throw out the fourth quarter, but I think they're 14-0 in this playoffs when they reach 111 points. So that's something for the audience to realize. And if it is a lower point total, that plays more into the Thunder's hands.
yeah, and I think well, the last game I think was the first one they won when it was under
Yes.
111. Yeah, so yeah, it's pretty defining number. Scott, I do want to take a moment for you to kind of mention the coverage because we've kind of watched you over the years. When did Fieldhouse Files start? Because I feel like we watched it being born, developed, growing. I remember when you were trying to get enough subscriptions just to take your first road trip. I mean, you've been with this team through the highs and the lows, and now this year it's kind of your reward, and it's great to see you be able to get to each game to cover it. But go ahead and give all the particulars about subscribing and what people can expect from the Fieldhouse Files.
Yeah, so I actually launched it during the pandemic in July 2020. And so we've been going since then, obviously expanded a lot more fever coverage as demand has thrived off that and Caitlin Clark, obviously. But this is my 13th year on the beat. My first two seasons were the back-to-back conference finals appearances. They had a couple more good seasons, but then it's kind of been dire, quite frankly. And from the pandemic, those first few years, right, they reached the lottery 3 straight. Other than that, the Pacers and the Spurs have been like the two most consistent teams in getting to the playoffs and in wins. So that has made things difficult. But since Rick came here, that's the thing I keep going back here, Brett, is since Rick Carlisle came here in 2021, he's been transformative with the franchise in so many different ways. And so, yeah, this season has, especially in the finals, has been fun for me to get back and cover this team and be able to be there on an everyday basis has been fantastic. And just encourage people to check out Fieldhouse Files and Fieldhouse Files podcast.
By the way, I just want to mention one thing about Rick Carlisle, and I even brought this point up. He was hired, and like a year later, it looked like the Pacers were going through a rebuild. They were going to go with younger players, and I thought Rick Carlisle didn't come here for this. I don't know if he's going to stay or if he's even the right guy because his history had always been to take experienced teams to the next level. And he's done a terrific job with this group. I mean, it just seems like it's been a match made in heaven with how he has coached the young talent, and the Pacers have gotten so much out of draft picks, out of some of the trades they've made. Kevin Pritchard and Chad Buchanan deserve a lot of that credit as well.
Yeah, absolutely, all of that, and now they're on the brink of something special. Now you're at the point when you start to think about if the Pacers should win, the individuals behind the scenes. I first go to Slick and Nancy Leonard because this franchise isn't there if not for them, and unfortunately, Slick isn't here to enjoy it. But Nancy, who's battled health concerns throughout most of the season, was able to return to her seat right behind the bench. I think they're in the conference finals. I think about them. I think about the late PR guru, David Benner and such. And I will say to that point, however, none of the players, I give them a lot of credit. And this probably, again, starts with Rick and Pascal Siakam. The players' mindset through this entire playoffs has been remarkably impressive. I would say especially here in the finals. Now, from a media standpoint, they're not tipping off as much and sharing what things work, even though afterwards they'll be like, hey, my bad, you get it, right? They'll literally say that. But on the other side of it, none of them wanted to understandably answer, like, have you envisioned what it's like with the trophy in your hand? Or what do you expect tomorrow night to be? And they're like, look, we have to get to practice because this is right before practice. We got to get to practice. We got to get to dinner. We got to do rehab and treatment, then get to the next day. We're not even thinking about that. And I think that is the ultimate professional way to do it. It's not easy. Obviously, naturally, some thoughts will creep in and all this. But this is the same for both teams. The very young teams generally, young cores that should be here for the next several years. And so for them to be in this spot. Now, last time it was the Thunder. And the last time Thunder, to be fair, were fielding questions about, is this the start of a dynasty? And I appreciated SGA. Look, we got to win something. We haven't won anything yet. Then they lost game 6. And now all the pressure is on OKC, I think, coming up on Sunday.
Do you believe that? They've got the pressure playing at home?
Oh, entirely. Oh, that was my opinion. I believe entirely it's all on them, for sure. Nobody expected the Pacers to be there. No one, look at the odds makers. They haven't picked the Pacers in one game. OKC's playing at home. During the regular season, they were 29-1 against Eastern Conference teams. Many picked the Thunder to sweep in this series. They went down 2-1. I could go on and on. Absolutely. Pacers should be playing fearless out there, and I think that gives them a slight advantage.
What's the weather in OKC, by the way? Are they getting the heat that we're getting?
Yeah, it's toasty. It is. Fortunately, it's only a couple block walk from the arena here. Normally, we walk through the convention center, but right now, that's being torn down, being turned into a new venue, a new arena for the Oklahoma City Thunder. So it's hot. I'm wearing layers because arenas are always freezing. It's a nice contrast, even more so when you go to Vegas in Summer League. For Summer League coming in July, it's 115 degrees outside. It's 60 degrees inside the arena. So
now,
regardless, it'll be hot here.
I want to make sure to be clear before we go. We're a podcast that's about opinions. We aren't reporters. Scott is a reporter. So if you want the inside scoop on what is happening with the Pacers, the Fieldhouse Files is where you get it. Anything that breaks, any kind of news or notes about the matchup in the series after the game. I don't know how you get it all done because I'm exhausted just from watching the game. But you're doing the live video.
Yeah.
The live video. Now, do you have to wait until a certain show or program is done, or can you go on at any time with your credential? I wondered how the rights work with that, if there's any conflict.
Well, I want to go to press conferences and talk to people post-game. So I don't think I would be allowed to fire up until ABC's coverage is completely off, which they go to like Scott Van Pelt right after. So it'd probably be like 5 minutes. That doesn't really affect me. I read it because they mention it all to the local news, a lot of local news, both OKC and Indy, that are here to cover it. But I'm probably doing it 45 minutes after a game because not only do I want to share what I observe and can conclude based on the game, but insert, hey, after game, what was it, 5 here, I had that clip of Tyrese limping off the podium. And what does it mean? Should we read into it? Is it nothing? No, it absolutely is something. I've watched this team all season. I've never seen that limp. So those are the type of things I try to provide. The challenge is it's after midnight, but I'm still able to get an audience of about 50 to 100 that join me live, and then many more that join me on the either replay or I reshare it on the podcast as well, for those that enjoy it on that type of platform.
Now, I will say the fact that you followed this team all year, I do think you were the first one to note that Tyrese had a limp. I think you might have broken that.
Yeah, it wasn't any type of breaking news in that I had it. It's just I noticed it and was aware of it. I got videos of him walking in and walking off because it was certainly notable in there. And yeah, you got to report what you see. And because my whole point of my job, I want to be fans' eyes and ears. If they're not at the arena or if they're not talking to these players, what's the feel of the team? And so that's what I try to provide each and every day.
Scott, terrific stuff, and look forward to all of your coverage for Game 7.
Mm-hmm.
This has to be like a bucket list item for someone that covers the team, right?
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun, a lot of pageantry that comes with these games and the incredible number of requests and interest in this team now. And the most interesting thing or funny thing to me has been the regurgitation of stories that probably us on the local beat have done months ago or years ago. We all knew about Tim McConnell. I guess national media obviously didn't know about him, for example. I've written John Halliburton stories for the last 3 years. And we all know what kind of impact that TJ McConnell has, or Jenny Busick on the bench. The thing I will take note though, at the same time, it's great to see so many of these people outside, Carlisle and Halliburton get the national coverage. So many of them do not. So after game 3, it was Mathering getting all kinds of attention. That's fantastic for a young player and can be good for where they're headed as long as they block out that outside noise like Halliburton's done a good job of. He's a guy that's his words chronically online, but he's made a point throughout this postseason to kind of turn off, to delete the social media apps as much as he can. Although I'm sure he'd be like me and you might delete it for a night while you're back on in the morning and you delete it at night or whatever. I think that'd be difficult in this day and age.
Are the Pacers taking a charter for their staff?
I've not heard. I don't think so. I'm sure there's a family charter plane, but I think it'd be terribly difficult as well, by the way, for the organization to get all those tickets that it would require. And how do you pick staff members, too?
Well, I
because last
wondered
time
about
they
the
did game
tickets.
1 and game 2.
Yeah, I wondered about the tickets because I thought they didn't know this game would exist until late Thursday night. So I thought maybe they could arrange for tickets with it being such a short notice and turnaround. But
Yeah, I think it would be a more matter of is OKC willing to give up a section or willing to give up a couple hundred. And I'm guessing how it worked was Thunder were willing to do that for games 1 or game 2. And then the Pacers returned the favor. There was a big section of OKC staff members at least game 3. I saw several hundred of them. That'd be one way to make it work. But game 7, here's where I would be selfish on the Thunder. I'd say, nope, I'm good. I'll have 200 more Thunder fans, even though it was an upper deck.
we earned the right, right? We
Yeah.
earned the right.
Totally agree. Maybe I'd compensate them a little bit. Here's 30 seats for those that have been there 30 plus years, but we want all our people in the building. I would totally understand that.
Hey, enjoy OKC. Appreciate the time, Scott. As always, look forward to talking to you again.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brett.
Yep, that is Scott Agness joining us here on the podcast. All right, so Scott's going to have a nice, if I can get, there we go. If I can get,
All right.
I was hitting the button and I did, for some reason, it wasn't clicking for me. How gracious for Scott down in OKC to spend some time with us on the eve before Game 7. It's going to be a big one. You know, everybody has counted the Pacers out. It seems like when you least expect something from the Pacers, they deliver it. And that's why it's very hard for me to concede, even though part of my brain is telling me, OKC at home, it's not going to happen. Before the series started, I believed that. I said the only way the Pacers win this series is if they win it in 6 by being up 3-2 going into the game, which would have been played on Thursday night. But this team has sold me, man. It's hard not to buy into what they're cooking. And the way they have overcome obstacles throughout this entire playoff series or playoff run, it feels magical. It feels like they're a team of destiny. The shots that Halliburton hit, the banking off the back of the rim, straight up in the air and down through the hoop.
Trust me.
You remember that
I
shot,
remember.
Knicks fan?
Of course. I do remember.
Just feels like this has been a season of destiny. So I think a close game. somehow Pacers find a way to scratch it out. What do you think?
You know what? I'm gonna go the same. I'm gonna root for them just because it's a good story. I'm not bitter about them beating my Knicks. You got to be a good sportsman. You want the better team to win, and I want Indiana to be the better team. It'd be great for our home state. As much as I am a Knicks fan, I do enjoy covering sports here in the state of Indiana. I know a lot of sports fans here in the state, and I would like to see them all happy. So,
By the way, tomorrow, not only do we have game 7 in the NBA, but my Florida Panthers will be celebrating the Stanley Cup championship
oh
down on the
man,
beach in Fort Lauderdale.
I hope they have a lot
They've
of
been celebrating all week. If you follow them on Twitter,
yeah.
they've been in the clubs with the cup, and Barkov is going. Did you see the video where Barkov went to his neighbor's house at 5 a.m.,
I saw that. I also
rang the
saw
doorbell with the cup
yeah.
in hand?
I also saw a lot of Dairy Queen being purchased, a lot of just a lot of different things to go a little bit crazy. But I hope they have a lot of
Crowd
ice.
surfing with Brad Marchand. And by the way, Sam Bennett announced at a club last night, I'm coming back.
Nice.
He
That's
is a free
fantastic.
agent, and he announced to the crowd he ain't going anywhere. All right, so it could be quite a Sunday with the celebration. The Fever are out in Las Vegas, and then of course the Pacers game 7, which is nice. It's a little earlier tip off, a little after 8 o'clock, not the 8:30, so it'll be a better bedtime. Uh, but uh,
Yeah.
but still kind of crazy. These games have lasted so long. By the way, one stat that I did pull: Jalen Williams for OKC, 28.7 points per game in the 3 Oklahoma City wins, 19.7, almost 10 points less in their losses. So
Yeah. Gotta hold
defend
them.
Williams. Neesmith was torched in game 5, and it was much better in game 6.
Yeah, I liked hearing that from Scott. That Naismith, I would like to see that a sneaky, really good performance from him. We've seen it against the Knicks where he just all of a sudden went ballistic in one game. So maybe we can see that tomorrow night.
Of course, we saw all kind of drama in the Fever last week. It's an older story, but
Ugh.
fallout from it. The league, to me, made a statement that Caitlin Clark is like any other player. They aren't going to step up to defend her. They aren't going to overly punish those that take cheap shots against her. I mean,
Man.
I don't know why the league is trying to satisfy a bunch of mediocre players to hurt their crown jewel in Caitlin Clark. She is the league right now. 50% of the TV ratings you can almost directly attach to Caitlin Clark because that's how much the ratings dropped when she wasn't playing. But the Fever lost a bad loss against the Valkyries out in California. Now they go
Hey,
to
yeah.
Las Vegas to take on the Aces, and the Aces have Asia Wilson. That will be a fun one to watch because to me, it's 2 of the top 4 teams in the league going at it out in the Las Vegas desert.
I feel like they've done more than say, Caitlin Clark is just another WNBA player. I feel like they've practically declared open season on her, man. I mean, if you're going to send a message that you can blindside push her down to the floor with a technical foul as your repercussion, that's just saying, hey, anybody can just mess with her anytime they want. So, yeah, really bad look. Just not even getting the ejection the night of the game right after the play. And then just to keep it going from there, it was just a really bad look. And then, like you said, game against the Valkyries, Valkyries were just super physical, just did not let the Fever do much of anything. So hopefully they can bounce back, but it's going to be a tough one against Asia Wilson, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and Sophie Cunningham made the news because late in the game had the
Yeah.
takedown of J.C. Sheldon. Here's my take on that too. It wasn't like she went out and gave Sheldon a cheap shot. And I've heard people refer to it as kind of bush league what she did. No, it was a breakaway, a chance to commit a hard foul, and she took it. It was a basketball play. It wasn't blindsiding someone and throwing them down or throwing a blindside punch or elbow or anything like that. There was no intent to injure. She just wanted to basically send a message. You mess with my girl, we're going to get back and mess with you. But to me, it was not. I mean, Sheldon knew that Cunningham was going to take her down. She had to know. It's in baseball, it's the beanball.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the retaliatory message, and every batter knows it's probably coming. Um, there's always in hockey, it's the guy that's going to come out on your shift when you've been spotted that is going to drop the gloves. You know that you're going to have to fight to defend your own integrity, but somebody's probably going to kick your butt because they're going to send their best fighter out to even the score against you. And so, the self-policing type of thing is not a surprise. It's not unusual for sports. It wasn't a cheap shot. To me, it's not Bush League. I think too much was made of it.
Yeah.
What else we got to cover? We got anything else to cover? Oh, the TinCaps.
TinCaps start off the second half of the season with a win last night against
First
Dayton.
place.
Let's go in the Midwest.
The first place. If the season stopped before tonight's game, TinCaps would be in the playoffs.
Yep. And you love to see it. Hopefully they'll keep the momentum going into tonight's game and make it 2 in a row. Eric Yost on the mound for the Caps tonight. So we'll see.
All right. We got to wrap it up. It's been a long
Yes,
time.
we do.
I know you got to get there to do your TinCap stuff. All right. Everybody have a great Saturday night. Sunday, Pacers, Oklahoma City. We'll, of course, I'll have a video or two to post on this sometime tomorrow night, Monday morning, whenever. But it's big for Indiana. First time Pacers have been in a situation of playing in the finals in 25 years, and they never got to a point where they could win a game and win the championship. So let's go. It could be the first time in Pacers history. Adam, thanks so much. Big thanks to Scott Agness for joining us. This has been the Sports Rush, and I am Brett Rump. Join us again next time. Make sure before you leave, you subscribe, you like, and you share the channel. We'll be back again soon right here on the Sports Rush.